Peace, family. How y'all doing? Vocal dialect. We are back. We are back in the building. I'm Knowledge Born 7. Got my brother Kenwato Moore, my other brother Gerald Moore. Brother Shaka San Kofu will be in later. We have a guest tonight. He's no stranger to the show. My good brother Victor Booth. Tonight we're gonna be speaking about health and wellness. So you guys pay attention and listen closely because we definitely going to be dropping some jewels. How y'all doing, family? What's going on?
Nothing too much, brother. Everything is good.
Yes, everything is well, man. Everything is well.
I was telling the brothers before the show I had a tooth extraction today, a molar on the number 19 pulled today. So I'm in good health, good spirits though.
That's good.
I guess the Novocaine hasn't worn off yet, so we'll see if I can go to bed, get some sleep tonight.
No, right? Well, go ahead, Victor Boo. We talking about health and wellness, man. What you got for us tonight, my brother?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on the show as usual. Uh, I've been over the course of 5 years have been in the books on health, wellness, um, and have been giving advice out to family and friends. Uh, one of the guys I listen to is Darren Muhammad on State of the City. He always have Dr. Watkins on there. He wrote a piece called Medicine, and my cousin was kind enough to give me a copy of that book. Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with him.
Yeah, I think he's out of Atlanta. Um, so Darren always have him as a special guest. I got to hear him at a lecture, do a lecture out here near Morgan about a few years back. Very impressed with this cat. But he talked about the book. I think it's almost like it's ahead of its time. It really talks about how, medicine or big pharma and stuff, they come out with these medicines. And then he also talked about food and the food safety issue in that book and how detrimental a lot of foods are. And of course, he gives a lot of advice. Like I called into the show. Sometimes he'd come on Carl Nelson's show and talk about, I was saying, hey, I see a little foam in my urine or something. He'll say, well, eat asparagus. He didn't say go get Pepto-Bismol or anything like that, as the Bible says, let food be thy medicine. And so there was also an issue I think he talked about, I recall, of talking about veganism and being a vegan as opposed to a carnivore and omnivore. And he said he had debated many of some of our scholars in the Black community who were vegan, and he said, I'm still here. So it's not a one size fit all. You got people who are like vegan, they're like vegan Nazis, but a lot of times you got to have the proteins and the type of proteins. Speaking of, would be like grass fed, grass finished beef. I just fed my sons today a ribeye steak. I cut it up and I season it with cumin, onion powder. Um, I forget what else. A little sea salt, and I sauteed those joints in. I cut it up in chunks, like half-inch chunks, and saute that in coconut oil, and then I serve that with asparagus. So the size of meat that people should be thinking about is not like a Big Mac. You should eat meat that's like the size of a deck of cards. And so when you get a size, when you want to, what is the size of a deck of cards? Well, just go get a can of sardines. That is about the amount of meat you should be consuming, I think, because it's going to, everything you eat, your kidneys taste. And so when you eat that and consume it, it's not that taxing on the kidneys. You're not going to be, lethargic and stuff like that. And you got a good amount of protein. So that's what I did with these cats. I make because I got a 16-year-old, a 23-year-old man, and I'm trying to change the palate because a 23-year-old he sneaks out and get the McDonald's food, which we know is dead people. I mean, he's trying to change that palate. But but yeah, with the food, recently I've been interested in a gentleman named Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. He has a organization that I'm a part of. It's called Truth, Freedom, and Health. And whereas a lot of people on different platforms are offering like Joe Rogan's, what's that other, Alex Jones, they always constantly, scan the crap out of people or, Joe Rogan. I mean, I think all of these guys are paid, to do what they do. They get a lot of views. But what Shiva's offering the world is really a solution. He's offering solutions to the masses all over the planet. So we have these open house orientations on Thursday nights where a lot of people come in on the Zoom, like your show, and then get information. So he talks about what you all have accomplished is decolonizing your mind, right? Um, the night we're talking about food and nutrition and what we can do to improve our health. We also, on his program, he teaches um, how to save yourself through being, discarding all the other stuff, but really understanding who is in control, what's being done, and how we take back America, how we take back, because America's been undermined already. We've lost a lot of freedoms. Um, and then he has a program called Cytosol, which is a software that he developed and do the best I can in describing it. But what it does is he can take, thousands of studies, let's say on moringa or ginger or turmeric, and this software can look at all the world studies, be 100,000 studies or what have you, and distill it down to the best therapeutics out of those studies. Just drill down what chemical compounds are significant out of those studies. And once he gets that, then he can take it through a computer model, which is cytosol. And what he's patented so far was a product called MV25. MV25 is for joint stiffness and pain. You see a lot of seniors that can't grip, close their hands. Um, and this product is from food. So it's no animal testing, none of that. MV25 is mass times velocity equals momentum. So he's pushing the system of science in politics, in healthcare, and in food, and of course politics. So we get to see from a systems perspective how how all things in the universe work. And this is mainly from like the Asian, African nations, the older civilizations that use system science. And to relate it to America's Western science, we're looking at engineering. So in the engineering system, you see an input, a transport, conversion, storage, and an output. That's what they call an open loop system. So that's akin to having a space heater with electricity coming into it as it goes through the transport, which is movement. It gets converted in the structure, the whole unit of thermal heat, and that output is heat. So that's what we call a dumb system because there's no way to cut off that heat unless you unplug it. An intelligent system, when you look at it from that perspective, and you can apply this to all things, it has 9 elements, and those 9 elements, including the five, the extra 4 elements would be a goal, would be disturbance, a controller, and a sensor. And that's akin to an HVAC system. An HV system is you set the temperature like upstairs. Like my son was like, it's too hot up here. So he had it at the wrong setting. He had it to fan and 80 some degrees. So he's just circulating hot air. So I went to put it on a cool. I set the goal to like 78 degrees and on the econo mode. And so what that system now is doing is saying, okay, that's the controller. I set it to the goal I wanted, and it will start to do the process of that heater. It will take that air that's in the room and take it outside and cool off the air inside. That's a heat exchange. At the same time, there's a thermostat or a sensor that's actually sensing the room temperature. Once the goal is reached, which we call the air and the ambient air is the disturbance. Once it senses that temperature had been achieved, it'll radio back to the controller and says, hey, we've reached the goal. And then the system should shut off. And that's what we call an intelligent system. And your body is an intelligent system. Um, if you're a pilot in an airplane, the pilot is the controller. And so he breaks down a lot of that, and I really like to see a lot of your listeners check out His platform is vashiva.com, and it's an educational platform that offers solutions to all the disturbances, as I say, with the air ambient temperature, with Trump coming out saying the things that he's saying, Kennedy talking about special, personalized medicine. You can just go to our people in our community, like Dr. Scott Whitaker, Dr. Shiva. You have, I was just sharing with you guys a moment ago, Dr. William Davis, and countless others, Dr. Eric Berg here in the area, DC, Virginia. Scott Whitaker's down in Virginia, I mean, Atlanta. And these guys give a more holistic view of the body. In the East, I mean, in the West, we have a reductionist view. So if you have an issue with your ear, nose, and throat or something, you go to an ear, nose, throat doctor. If you're having high blood pressure issues, you go to a cardiologist. But what is the source of the high blood pressure? What is, you got to look at the whole body as a system. So Shiva talks about you got, 12 organs, and each one of these organs are important, but none of them are more important than you, the whole person. So a doctor's perspective now is really they should be looking at, okay, if you got high blood pressure, some of the questions I would ask is, are you stressed out? Did you lose your job, right? What are you eating? If you eat a lot of processed foods, that's damaging the kidneys and the nephrons surface area has to filter so much blood a day. So let's say 7 gallons a day got to go through that filter. But if you lose two of those filters, you still got to put that same amount of blood through the filter. So the pressure has to rise, just like a water hose. When you tighten it up, you get more pressure. So the body has an anatomical response to the conditions that the body's in. And so the doctors need to figure out, do I give them blood pressure medication or do I do other things to mitigate this issue? Breathing exercises, yoga, relaxation techniques, taking like this product, olive leaf extract by one of our scholars, Dr. Haru Ofori, who's both a biologist and an attorney. So during the pandemic, scamdemic, transdemic, I went to lectures at E-Life Center here in DC, and this is what he proposed to us as a good source to lower your blood pressure. It also normalizes, it deals with the sugar in your body, and it's also an anti-cancer mean machine right here. This
And
product,
what's
sorry,
the name of that, brother?
it's called Olive Leaf Extract by herbalresults.net. So it's one of the top anti-inflammatory, but it's a plant solution. And this, if you go to his website, herbalresults.net, there you will find on his webpage a tab for testimonials and the scientific studies. You go to Dr. Shiva, vashiva.com, you get similar text, you get the similar breakdown. He's got one called where he's actually published papers. Shiva has published papers on the C1 metabolism, where you compare the photosynthesis that happens in plants. Plants have mitochondria like us, and that's the powerhouse of every cell. And how that mitochondria is an antioxidant, it reduces the amount of formaldehyde that a plant produces as a normal process of photosynthesis. And he did I think he published 4 documents in the journals, series published scientific journals that really explains why GMO foods are bad. Because everybody goes, GMO is bad, GMO is bad, but it's bad for you have to know the science why it's bad. A tomato of GMO type can look the same as as an organic type, but what's going on inside that plant is a lot of stress on on the one that's GMO because it's in the lab. So the likelihood of when you say GMO, I may take DNA from a tilapia and make it and made it with a gene from a tomato, and that's GMO. The likelihood of a fish mating with a tomato is not likely at all, but that's the stuff they're doing in these labs. But again, with this product here, olive leaf extract, I recommend it to everybody. I mean, if you got high blood pressure, and Haru came to do a lecture. It was a very long lecture, but the first thing we did in that lecture was they had people have their blood pressure taken, and afterwards 30 minutes later, they had to, after well into the lecture, we did the test again, and the lines were out the room because everybody saw that their pressure had went down tremendously. And this product I've also prescribed to or suggested or recommended. I'm not a doctor. To another good friend of mine who sells pastries and stuff, and she's in her 80s, early 80s, and she had a hole in her leg from diabetes, and she had the ACE bandage on, and so they when I walk through the market here at Eastern Market in DC, I know a lot of people that I'm like the mayor. They go, "Hey man, I got this problem. What do you recommend?" So I gave her this. This is a $40 bottle. You go to
Okay,
Herbal Results, huh?
someone had asked, Sean Johnson had asked, can someone place the product in the comments? So could you, the
Sure.
green leaf, abstract, and could you tell them where to get it from, the product?
Yeah, yes, sir. So you go to herbalresults.net and there you'll see all that you want to see there. Let me put it in there for you. Sorry. Yeah.
Results.net.
Yeah,
Dot
herbal
results.net.
results. Yeah.
And you said that's olive abstract?
Yeah, this is olive leaf extract. Let me back that up. Uh, and he has a Instagram site too. Yeah. Um, I'm not the fastest typer. And I think I posted it. And then you go and then you go out there and you go for olive leaf. And this is he got this study when he did this product from NIH. So when you go to the testimonial page, let me just shrink my screen a little bit and I can just go get to the page real quick for you and just give you the link exactly.
I got
Um,
the link.
huh?
I got the link.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah. So when you go to shopping on that site, you'll see um, all the products, herbal results. And so that's where I get my education from. I look at the science tab, look at the studies, and what Haru challenges us, and Dr. Shiva Ayadure. I was introduced to Haru first before I came across Shiva's work in 2022, 23. But I see these guys are super intelligent people like you guys. Um, they speak succinctly, and there's no esoteric talk like, hey, take this product, it'll give you erections, or take this product and da 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 da. What they say is give the right amount of medicine to the right person at the right time. And Kennedy and these guys are now saying precision medicine. But not everybody can take the same amount of aspirin or ginger or turmeric. You have to look at the body as a system. The body needs combination therapy. So, like if you take MV25, he's patented that product if you have like sciatic nerve pain or mobility issues, you take that. If you had injuries from exercising or weightlifting or maybe martial arts, this product works very well with the body's molecular pathways. And when I learned from these guys, it's molecular pathways is proteins. They communicate with each other. So when you ingest something, um, once the small intestines get it, it extracts the nutrients. And then those molecular pathways is what cytosol, which Shiva has created. That product, that software can actually map the molecular pathways of that therapeutic. And which is really fascinating is that Shiva is at the point now where he's like, we're going to solve cancer, we're going to solve ALS. Um, what's the other one? I just lost my cousin to Parkinson's. Parkinson's. I mean, I had to give my cousin like B1, B vitamins, but the sheathing of the nerves in the body is just stripped away, and you get a lot of atrophy in the muscles and stuff. This guy was an avid golfer, and recently I saw somebody put on Facebook that there's a lot of toxins that keep that lawn looking that well. And I kept wondering, how did he get to this point in his life? He was a home inspector. He did a lot of stuff in DC and the DC government. But I guess it could have been that the stuff from that field when they sprayed those grasses, a lot of those toxins had messed up his nervous system. And he
Mm.
succumbed to that a couple months ago. But again, even with this olive leaf extract, Miss Brown, I mean, I can say her name, but anyway, my customer had a hole in her leg, wrapped up with the bandage. We did the olive leaf extract. She was doing some topical stuff, but the real problem was the blood sugar was really high, the glucose was up there, and lo and behold, her epidermis has returned. And when the doctors want to amputate and go in, I told my client, listen, you got to lay off your product. You selling sweets, you got to lay off of it. You got to do it in moderation. But so now she's at a point where she's completely healed. That skin is restored. And if you go to the testimonial page on herbalresults.net, you get to see one brother who had a big hole in his bottom of his foot. He said that when he went to see the physician, his doctor, he had a lot of skin, so the doctor cut it. And then next thing you know, he has a hole in his foot. And then he took this product, and after a few months or less than that, it's healed. And you actually see the before and after there. And so Haru will work with any of the guests or any of the people that's tuned in tonight. You can hit him on Instagram and say, hey, I'm on your product, and you go to his website and he'll give you the meal plan, not medicine. He'll get food. That food is your medicine. He'll say, here's your grocery list, here's what you go to buy, and this is how you consume it. And that right there is a prescription for getting you back to health. Dr. Shiva has a piece called Your Body, Your System. And this is a book here that I got here, I recommend. And this explains how, if your body gets off course, how you return it to your homeostasis, back to health. So he has tools that train you into being a what they call a health coach, and that's what I'm going through now. Um, I'm a what they call a warrior scholar in that program, but I'm taking these self-paced classes now. I'll do a better job in the future on the interview like this, but where you you understand how the body functions. When I gave you those five systems, input, transport, structure, conversion, and output, the body is three systems: is transport, conversion, and storage. And as for example, in the transport part, if I close my eyes and start to meditate with deep breathing, the air will come down my trachea. That's transport. Transport is movement, motion. The conversion in the structure will start to happen where I exchange the oxygen that I take in and put it in the bloodstream, and I take out the spent oxygen when you exhale. So those are the things that we educate our students on, people who need to reset their systems. So you have a diagram in his software that shows you this is homeostasis when you're 19 and you got a good strong back, you know what I'm saying? You're a great athlete, you can do a lot of things, you heal fast, all of that. And then as you consume alcohol and all the stuff that we've been accustomed to, you start to see your body in decline. And what you see is when we actually do the analysis on you, we see this other circle, which is we call the black dot. Now, the goal now, from the system's perspective, when I have a smart system, I have a goal, and that black dot and this red dot, they got to come together. So the closer I bring this back to this guy, I'm back to good health. And when you give people that kind of pictorial understanding, where you give them exactly what Haru is doing, here's the menu plan, here's your grocery list, here's the direction you need to go to get this back here. That's what you want to look for in these people that say, hey, take this supplement or take that supplement. You got to get the supplements through the food. The food is key because I don't care, you can take all the wheatgrass and all that stuff, but is it the right amount for the right person at the right time? It may not be. So with the food, the body can do what it needs to do with the food. As long as you follow that program to the T, which most of the people on the testimonial page for herbalresults.net tell you, if they had a crisis for high blood pressure, they immediately get this. I recommend when you take this, you got to wean yourself off your blood pressure medication. This right here alone will save your kidneys. When you're taking high blood pressure medication like the pills, as Mr. Haru Foray talked about in the lecture, if you've taken any of these blood pressure medications like Ramipril, which I was prescribed maybe 10 years ago or less, they said, hey man, they put me on a stress test and all that, and the lady gave me Ramipril, but something told me not to take it. When you take Ramipril, if your body's anatomical response is to raise the blood pressure to get filter that amount of blood, and you lower the pressure, then you're going against the body's anatomical response to what's going on. That's like if you're in a flight or fight mode and somebody give you a chill pill, you know what I mean, and you don't know you was in danger running from that tiger, but now you're like, oh, it's just a big cat, you get tore up. So most of the black folks in America that have hypertension, they're given these medications, and for men, it keeps you from getting erections. And that's what the prill does. It destroys your erection because you need them kidneys for the erection. You got weak kidneys, you're gonna climax fast. So you have to strengthen the kidneys. And what they're doing is they put us on these pressure pills and the stents and all the other statins. What that does then is once they see the demographic in the black community go to these Ramiprills and all these pills, then they put up a dialysis clinic because the next step is dialysis. The kidneys are destroyed. They know this is the system, the input, the transport, the conversion, and then you got this output. So that's what they know because they want that residual income. What Haru and Shiva and these guys are saying, listen, and Dr. Theodore Watkins is saying, hey, let food be your medicine. I'm gonna get paid one time. If I'm gonna sell you this product, you stay on that, you good. It's a medicinal. And had another buddy of mine. He's my son's driver to and from school because I work an hour away from here. Um, uh, he now has a lot of his family members who took the pokey, took the cootie shot. Um, this product right here, I did a testimonial in front of Haru when after his lecture during the Q&A session. He was like, anybody have gotten this product before and used this stuff? And I took the stage. I said, listen, a good friend of mine who had bladder cancer was lethargic, they had no appetite. He tried the marijuana, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a real estate broker in DC and Maryland, so I had to help him prepare the house, his mom's house for sale. She just passed from cancer. But every time I would go to the house to help him prepare the house for sale, to stage it, he was in this big recliner and he was just lethargic. And his wife took the cootie shot. He didn't, but she was lethargic. So I said, hey man, $65 bottle with that he also has on that website. I gave him that product with the a lot of nutrients from plants and stuff. I gave him this. So he went through it for a month. I get this call, this frantic call, and I said, "What's up, man?" He said, "Man, I need my shit." I said, "What?" It sounded like a junkie. I said, "What shit are you talking about, right?" Because he said, I need that shit, man. That stuff you gave me, man. I got my energy back. I'm back to making love to my wife. And I said, wow. I mean, I had no idea, you know what I mean? But and then he gave it to his wife. But a lot of women, it's very bitter. So part of Watkins and these guys that Theodore Watkins talks about is taking those bitters, your garlic, your turmeric, your onions. They cancer killers. Garlic is like chemotherapy to cancer. Um, but when this brother took this product and gave it to his wife, he had to kind of soften the taste a little bit. But She got her energy back. After the cootie shot, I had a cousin that works at one of the big banks here. He thanked me publicly when I had to sell their family home in 2022. That a cousin of ours that was in the streets with us against these mandates and these cootie shots um, got him his energy back. This product is the bomb for our people. They sell it at Blue Now here in DC. Um, it's an anti-inflammatory. It lowers your puts your blood pressure in the normal range, and it saves your daggone kidneys. And you could take all you do is shake it up. You take it like this, and you pour it in the cap, and you can put it in a shot glass or an 8-ounce glass of water, and that's it. And you can take it twice a day or 3 times a day. But you can also consult with Haru on the chat, and if you have a problem, like he just posted something on Instagram, I think this morning, where a woman had beat cancer and she's taking a photo with this, so it's proven. Speaking of water, this is an expensive water. Not everybody can buy this water. But if you can get a case, get a case and just have it just in case. If you got loved ones in hospice or in hospitals, this is medical grade water. This is a product called Aphora, this product here. Um, and I'll read a little piece, if you don't mind, on this water. So Aphora water is a wellness water. It's nano pure, restructured, hyper oxygenated drinking water. And this water oxygenates every organ in the body for up to 12 hours. All of the chemicals is out of it. You get a water filter with reverse osmosis and alkalinity. You don't want to drink alkaline water. Alkaline water is going to make your stomach juices less acidic. You need a very like a 2 pH level of acid in the gut, because that is what breaks down the food. If you got more alkalinity, if your pH goes to 3 and 4, you're going to have acid reflux, and then they're going to give you an antacid. You got to get like products like that will improve the acidic level in the gut, which would be apple cider vinegar. Fairchild makes a very good product over um, the Bragg's apple cider vinegar. But for water too, you can do this kind of water that you can buy at Whole Foods, uh, Sprouts. They sell it by the case. This product right here is called Mountain Valley Green Water. Get it in the glass bottles. This has been mined since the 1860s. The Mountain Valley Spring is famously recognized for its distinctively refreshing taste and exceptional quality, the perfect balance of pH and crisp taste, since 1871. So this is the product right here that I normally give my kids. This one, if you got loved ones in hospice or issues, this is purified water, oxygenated, and it's the bomb. And I'm gonna tell you why here in a moment here. I learned of this water reading a book during the Pokies, when they was handing out the Pokies, because that water right there would have kept a lot of those people off the ventilators. Um, but this is a book called, and my dog ate it. I apologize. I gave a lot of these kind of books away. I'll show you the inside cover. And this was done by a doctor named Dr. Cowan and Sally Fallon. Sally Fallon talks about a lot of nutrition. They talk about grass-fed, grass-finished food. To get a boost of vitamin C, you don't have to take a supplement. You can just take sauerkraut. If you want vitamin D, you can take cod liver. Let me get that for you, man. I didn't bring that over here. Cod liver, you can take your cod liver, and I get that by the case. I get that by the case like this. So for lunch, you eat the size of this. This is wild caught cod liver, just like a sardines. This is filled with you get 450% of vitamin A and 420% vitamin D. And this is what the Europeans be tearing up. If you feed your dog a whole egg with the shell, and you feed them this meat, they'll live a lot longer uh, than what these vets are putting in your dog. This stuff is powerful for us as well, right? But this stuff right here, man, and the oil in it is cod liver oil. So you're getting it from the food. But quickly here on the issue of water, um, I'll just quickly read a little bit of here. It says, um, as described in chapter 8 of this book, and this book is called The Contagion Myth, Why Viruses, Including Coronavirus, Are Not the Cause of Disease. And what he's saying is that when you look at the molecular pathways of the body, any antigen that comes through your immune system, and Cowan talks about the number of immune systems people have. When he came out on the scene in 2021, by 2020, he talked about there's two immune systems. This is an old model of why they give you the pokey. The old model is the innate and the adaptive. The innate and the adaptive, or the humoral. And this has memory. The innate is your eyes. You get a speck in the eye. You sneeze and cough. Your skin, your ears, nose, and throat. That's your innate system. That's the first line of defense, your skin, right? But if anything gets past that, now you have to involve the adaptive or the humoral system. So if the body, when you get a cold, Dr. Calvin said he was asked by a 12-year-old, Dr. Calvin, how is it when I get a sore throat followed by a lot of mucus, headaches and cramps and stuff, and then high fever. And then at some point after a few days, you start to, you're defecating, you're sweating it out, blah, blah, blah. So that's what got Calvin to thinking about the immune system. So the immune system works the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get a high temperature. That's the only way that the cells are globes. That's the only way that the body can expel those that genetic malfunction in the cell. The body is made of up to 70% water. So there's four forms of water. It's liquid, solid, gas, and gels, like your eyeballs. So when you cut somebody, they don't bleed water. But when you heat the body up, the body will do what with those cells? It'll help excrete the damaged cell piece, and that's how you snot it out, you pee it out, you defecate it out, and you sweat it out, and you have you breathe it out. So the body has that, but that's two systems, and that's 100-year, 150-year-old system. Well, Dr. Shiva came back in 2020 at the Science Foundation. He was a guest there. He said there are 5 systems that we know of. You got the adaptive, you got the interferon system, which Dr. Alim Muhammad talks about interferon. He gave us that product during the scamdemic. You have your, so you got the innate, you got your interferon, you got the adaptive, you have your neuron, and you have your microbiome. So all of these 5 systems communicate with each other. You tell people with the gut-brain connection. So all of these systems work together and they all talk to each other. So the interferon system is just a string of amino acids or proteins that's almost like a link between the innate and the adaptive. It also talks to the neural network, which is your brain. You have a health system in the brain. You have an immunity in the brain. And then your microbiome. If the microbiome is jacked up, every system is going to be jacked up. That means you can have difficulty breathing if you get exposed with radiation to your microbiome here, and those good, healthy bacteria and fungus that breaks down your food all of a sudden become a poison. Then you can have respiratory issues. So they are now, when you look at Dr. Donald Trump and Oracle, recently they came on the news talking about they're going to use 5 data centers to come up with vaccines to cure you of Lou Gehrig's disease or sickle cell. What they're saying now is they're going to use gene therapy. They call it CRISPR, and that's a gene editing. So if I look at the double helix of a DNA, Shiva talks about how this DNA, every rung in that ladder is a gene, and these genes make proteins, and these genes make your eyes, nose, and mouth. So he gives the audience, if they tune into his program tomorrow, go to vashiva.com and sign up for the orientation. You'll see that when you look at these genes, they they had a human genome project in 2000, the late 1990s up until 2004, when scientists said, let's map out how many genes a human being has. And they thought we had hundreds of thousands of genes. Well, as it turns out, to their dismay, we only have 20 to 25,000 genes, the same number of genes as a worm. So it's not like how many genes you have, it's what those genes can code for, what they can do. It's like if you take some blocks and you line them up like this, right? That's a worm, right? The genes can just be, something as simple as that. But if you make something complex like a, tower or something like that, that's us, right? So those genes can code for a lot of things. And when they gave people the pokey, they bypassed those 5 immune systems. They went right to the adaptive system, and they gave you what they call an mRNA shot, which when they cut that gene down the middle, that gene becomes a messenger. And that messenger goes right to the ribosome in your cells. And that is what makes the spike protein. So genes make proteins. And when it makes those proteins exit the cell. And then they go and talk to each other. That's your molecular pathways. And they can tell a gene to cut off, to turn on. So when the president and these guys are talking about coming up with AI technology to look at a certain type of gene or a certain kind of disease, they want to go at it with a reductionist view. I'm gonna go directly to this gene and cut it out. But what if that turn you into a monkey? You know what I mean? You don't know. They really don't understand the whole system. You're not a DNA. You're not just genes. You're a complex system of communication. And that's the important thing to know. So when you look at people who are unwell, you have to look at the whole system. And in the East, in ancient Africa, ancient India, in China, you see all these people with Eastern medicine. I would think Suda and Ayurveda medicine. These systems are just like a Western technology. They have, and what Shiva did is kind of created a translation between East and West, where he's created the Rosetta Stone. If you call it Rosetta Stone, was like Latin, Egyptian, and Greek. And so they could translate these hieroglyphics in Egypt with Latin, and then from Latin, to other languages, right? So the Rosetta Stone is, how does these systems, this engineering part, to model a plane to make it fly so you don't kill pilots and people. These people over here had thousands of millions of years of development where they maintain your health. Again, when you take these medicinals or these products from nature, they evolve with us over time. And so these products work with the molecular pathways in the body, and you get the response that my buddy made when she had the hole in her leg clear up. Like my buddy who had died, bladder cancer, who can then go back to make love with his old lady, who had no energy, no appetite, nothing. So I would come to the house and we'd have to stage it. He was already helping me carrying stuff. His mom was on one of those lifts up and down the steps. We were disassembling that. I mean, this cat was back on the planet, man. So it's a cure. Like when you had a cold, your mama gave you soup. If you cut your finger, you don't need a cootie shot to see that body just goes and has the intelligence to do what? Stop the bleeding and heal the wound. But I got off on a tangent. But I'm gonna get to the water here. Let's do the water real quick here, in the interest of time. So it goes here to talk about, to reiterate, healthy water is free of all toxins. It contains a full complement of minerals, and it is structured through subjection to a constant vortex motion. As a result of this constant vortex motion, the water is oxygenated. So when you see water coming down the waterfalls or in the streams and all the rocks and stuff, that water is being oxygenated. But when it comes to municipal pipes, it's not oxygenated. It's dead. So you are what you eat. So also let me continue here. So he talks about here the Ganges River. Finally, the water is finished through its exposure to nature sounds and frequency. So they take this water, they scrub all the pharmaceutical products out of water because through your municipal, they can't filter to that level. So you may get somebody's medications in the water you're drinking because they can't clean it. So this water is, I don't know, it cost me maybe what, $25 a bottle, $50 a bottle. I mean, not 50, about $25 a bottle. So I get a case of it. It's about, with shipping, it's pretty expensive. But you can just do this one too, right here. And to mineralize water, like that water, any of this water, this has already been mineralized. You can take water, take a pinch of sea salt, and this is a very good one here called real salt. This is non-ionized salt. This is from ancient oceans that dried up. You take this pinch of that, you put it in your water, and you create the vortex. You spin it around, and you go the other way. So if you out there like in Atlanta, and you down there in that heat, or like here in DC, it's hot today. You can mineralize the water, and that water will be absorbed quickly into the cells and hydrate you. Because if you have a heat stroke, ambulance comes in, they put that IV in your arm to give you sodium. So when people are dying from heat waves, it's because they're on a low sodium diet. Like we saw in Chicago, 700 Black people died in the city because they had no sodium. And this is the problem. In Africa and the Americas, our ancestors in the Americas were salt traders. I got a book called The American Indian that talks about how the American Indian were really one of the lost tribes of Israel. But they believed in Jehovah, yada, yada, yada. And this book was written in the 1770s by a guy named James Adair. But they were salt traders in the Americas, like you saw in the Sahara. It was worth more than gold. So salt is the minerals that you need, like sea moss, right? So, but yeah, this water is made out of California. They go here, interestingly, in addition to the waters we drink, it is clear from both historical evidence and modern research that the water we wash and bathe in is at least as important as the water we drink. This point was brought home to us as a result of personal experience in looking at the research on the Afora water system. Afora is an innovative water company located in Southern California, which has developed a technique for taking any municipal or well water and cleansing it of all traces of toxins, pharmaceuticals, fluorides, chlorine, and even microplastics. As far as we know, no other system is able to purify water to this level. The water is remineralized by adding all the known minerals found in seawater. After that, the water is put through a Rose vortex and oxygenated to 40 parts per million with a proprietary technology. This is by far the highest oxygen content of any water tested, on a level with the rarest and finest healing waters on Earth. The water is pH balanced and finished by exposing the water to the sounds of nature. Studies of people who soak in the oxygenated water and drink half a gallon or 1.5 gallon a day show some amazing results. First, the oxygen saturation of the tissues immediately goes up and stays at the highest levels for up to 12 hours. This is a more robust oxygen saturation response than one gets with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, a strategy known to produce many therapeutic effects. Second, and even more astonishing, they call it phase angle measurement of the tissue also rises. The phase angle measurement tells us about the level of hydration of the tissues and is actually an indication of the subject's biological age. pH or phase angle is a direct measurement of your cell's membrane integrity. The membrane is what structures the water inside and outside of the cells. The membrane is where the cells communicate with one another and where a electric charge is created to the cells can function. So again, when you look at us at the micro level and the macro level, Scott Whitaker, Dr. Shiva, my man Haru Afori, Dr. Cow and Sally Fallon, there's others out there that look at the whole system. I got another book I didn't bring to the table, which is that deals with ADD, ADA, I mean, attention deficit disorder, and ADHD, schizophrenia, and other psycho issues where everything is in the gut. So if you get a child that's been injured by these pokies, especially if they become autistic, you immediately have to address the microbiome. That's an area that has gotten the immune system to go into hyperdrive. So when we see people with adverse events with the pokey, you're looking at the immune system going ape shit. And so you got to chill it. There's a doctor in Tijuana, Mexico, Dr. John Bergman. He had a patient last year. She came from Canada. She had the jitters, tremors, slept 16 hours a day, throwing up all the time because she took the pokey. Well, she did a presentation, she did a testimony because her parents were almost at the point of just saying, this is how you're going to be for the rest of your life. They took her blood through several diagnostic tests, and that's what the doctors don't do. They don't look at the whole body. They don't do a diagnostic study to see what's happening at this micro level. And once they determined what was going on, they were able to mitigate it. Her tremor subsided. She doesn't sleep 16-hour days. Much like my man who had the bladder cancer took this, he had his energy back. So we want to see results where people, we got to get people to think about being their own doctor, to save their own behinds and taking charge. And Haru, during his lecture, he was saying, we were propagandized during the scamdemic. And when he was on calls and discussions on Zoom calls with doctors, he was just blowing them away because he realized they just were trained. So he said, we have to be the Malcolm X's. We got to be the Shakas, you know what I mean? The Jurls. We have to go like you guys have done, is go out and study, read a book, and read it a couple times and see if you can break it down and then, be succinct in how you share that information and get it out there because we're not going to have a savior no more. Ain't nobody coming to save our ass. We have to save ourselves. And that's what Shiva keeps saying. The time right now is where we are seeing our children's life expectancy has dropped since the 70s. And our kids will never live as long as us. So that's what got me motivated to be a warrior scholar under his leadership and my leadership because I'm saving my own self. But if they take him out, they got to come to me too because I'm gonna be the next one to step in like you all and saying, hey, we're the leadership. We can't look to the Al Sharpton saying he's coming to save us. He didn't get no laws passed. He ain't doing the kind of work Shaka's doing and getting these brothers off the drugs and coaching them back to having some self-respect and self-worth. I mean, his piece last night was awesome. I was like, man, this guy heavier than me, man. I gotta go I gotta tune in more often. But good shout out to Hugh, man. So, but yeah, that's what I got to share, man.
Okay. Before we end the show, anybody want to get their thoughts or they final thoughts? Well, not no final thought because no one really spoke except for our guests. Go ahead. Before we end the show, you guys go ahead and give your thoughts.
Well, no one needed to say anything. And Brother Vic, with that arsenal, I'm talking about that arsenal of information that can save millions of us if we only. And I think our only struggle, Vic, is that we haven't developed a regiment of discipline to detoxify ourselves from the
Right.
GMO, from death intake on a consistent basis. And I think that everybody wants to have that sort of a protocol, that divine protocol, which enhances life, and not just the timeline of life, but the quality of life, to enhance that quality of life, because that, once the body is right, the mind is right, the spirit is right, the soul is right, and it illuminates itself. And I think that's the only obstacle or barrier, if you will, that prohibits us on a mass level from actually, you know, uh, and indulging in that particular regimen. And what you were saying, all the things that you were laying down,
Thanks.
to some it may seem complicated, but for those who have that desire to make those adjustments, and for those who may be listening, that we always invest, and we've been investing for decades and decades into things that have been detrimental to us internally as well as externally. So we need to start to develop a pattern of discipline to start investing in life, and what goes on within us and what goes on inside of us, because that, what what we are externally is the reflection of what's going on with us internally. So, I've heard so many lectures that you've done, and how many people that you've saved over the years, and how many the eye-opening protocols, man. And I'm investing slowly but surely into that, into living, willing to, put all our effort into trying to, make those adjustments, which is not easy. And I'm just speaking for me. It's not, it's not just a, flip of a switch. Everything is a process, but nevertheless, man, I appreciate you, man. Love you, brother.
Thank you, man.
You know how it is. You know what it is, bro. And so, that's my thoughts.
I got a
Brother
Well,
question.
Drew?
well,
Yeah, can y'all share some of those? Are you able to show those flyers if you get a minute? I emailed them to you.
No, we can't see those slides. That's just a message thing. Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
email it to me?
I sent it to you in the email. I don't know if you can share.
Hold on one second. I forgot how to do that. Hold on one second.
Thank you, Shaka.
Let me see.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a good friend of mine, man.
anybody else want to? Well, hey, brother Vic, I want to thank you once again for you joining this segment to share the information about the imbalances of how our poor diets. Because I know I have a poor diet, and I know the imbalancing of eating food that's not particularly good for me, because as you talked about the GMOs, I mean, that's basically what we're purchasing on a daily basis
Yeah.
is GMO foods. We don't know what the bioengineered food is doing, or the generated foods from which you talk about them infusing certain things into the foods. But I want to try that. I want to try everything that you said. I want to change. I'm going to try to change my balance. I like the water. I know what Shaka had explained to us about him giving it to his mom and what it did for her. So I know if it did something that miraculous for her, I think we all should partake of that.
Yeah. What is your life worth? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Here's another piece that I recommend right here. Is that
Pull back a little bit. Just pull back a little bit so we can see it. Oh, you got the you have the
Blur thing on there.
blackouts. You got the blur on the screen.
Okay, let me get that out of there.
No, just put it in front of your face. Just put it in front of your face.
Okay.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Super
So
good.
come back a little.
Is that better? Or come back in?
Just come forward.
Yeah,
All right,
there
I
you
got
go.
it. Super good. All right, we got it. All right, cool.
Good.
Yeah, go to his videos, and we're just playing that before the show, where he talked about why wheat is poisonous and how it rats the teeth. That's why I had to get this taken out. And how there's an alloprotein when they were in the 50s, they were measuring high cholesterol, and the liver makes that, right? But you need the cholesterol. So he says that cholesterol was a poor marker of what causes coronary disease, or AKA heart disease. And what you have in your heart is you have these three coronary arteries. And when they get this plaque buildup in them, that's what I think it's called alloprotein. That is what makes that uh, uh, clotting, or like a pimple. Uh,
Yeah.
and when that thing bursts, if that pimple bursts, that's the heart attack. It stops the flow of blood to the heart, not the heart messing up. It's the flow of that electric juice, that blood flow going to the heart. It shuts it off. And so, in order to not be on stents and triple bypasses, you have to lay off the wheat, grains, and sugar, period. And this book right here gives you alternatives to making bread. Like I'll do almond flour with, I'll make a focaccia bread with almond flour, with
Mm-hmm.
olives, olive oil, and a lot of stuff in here. I'll do Moroccan um, roasted vegetables, which is good for the kidneys because some people can't eat raw vegetables. You got to eat roasted. And also in this book, I make another product for the kids. I do like an Italian sausage, Sicilian pizza, and I make fries. Instead of doing potatoes, I can do turnip fries. You can do turnip fries in here. So there's recipes that you can go and do and still enjoy your life. Instead of getting rice, you can get cauliflower rice, right? Made from cauliflower. Or I make this tzatziki sauce with yogurt, olive oil, garlic, and cucumber. So that goes well with a nice ribeye steak. So I go to the meat man. I say, shred this down to like it's steak and cheese. They shred it up. I can, I put a lot of a lot of stuff in there. Like I don't see it now, but you can put your cumin, your turmeric, and all that in it, and you
Right.
season that meat. And then you can put that on your rice, your cauliflower rice, and then you add your tzatziki sauce. Boom. So I do that for the kids for lunch, man. I say, well, how's the lunch, man? It's nothing but empty boxes when I get them back. So I don't give them the nuggets because lastly, I want to say this. One a dear friend of mine, a client and friend, she and her son, he's 5, have they pre-diabetic. And she said, I just had to stop feeding him chicken nuggets. Well, where you was getting the nuggets? McDonald's. So now you got a baby who is in line for, diabetes and probably a fatty liver. So they're starting to do liver transplants on babies now, kids. So that just tells you, since we've been born, man, that's why the life expectancy is going down.
Mm. Brother Ken, any last any remarks? Not last remarks, any remarks?
People in the chat made comments, said thanks for the information, man. I want to thank you for coming up on shore and getting sharing this information. Learn a lot. Everybody in the chat, just share it to your people. This information is important. And also, man, thank y'all for tuning in. Also, you can follow Vocal Dialect on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can also follow Brother the General T. Shaka Sankofa on Facebook in the evening times between 8:30 p.m. usually. So what time when the next time you coming on, Brother General Shaka?
Tomorrow night, brother. Probably 8:30.
All right, follow Brother T. Shaka Sankofa. He giving a real lot of information like this show. That's all I gotta say. Peace.
All right, Vocal Dialect. We had a special guest. Not a stranger to the show. Olive leaf extract. That was one of my things I used during COVID. So
you up on it, cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. The cauliflower and stuff like that. I've been doing that for a minute. But yeah, it does helps you out, man. Keep your weight down, keep your energy levels up. You know, I would definitely say that. Um, one of the me and Ken, we do a lot of fasts a year, a lot of smoothies, different things we do. We did one year. I forgot which one me and Ken did. It involved
fruit fast. We did fruit fast and
yeah, the
water
fruit
fast.
fast. Yeah. So I mean, I will say this. Since COVID, it made a lot of people herbalists. It made a lot of people get into a lot of different allergies as far as health. So, you know, hey, we see y'all next week, man. We thank brother Victor. We thank brother Gerald. We also thank brother Shaka. You know, them guys been riding with us, man. You know, we appreciate them. You know, and especially, you know, for just support. You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? Me and Ken, we do this show. And you know, we been through a few. I don't say we've been through a few people. We had a few different co-hosts and stuff like that. But you know, we thank everybody who has put any energy into us as people, as humans, as brothers, as leaders, as we be in a community. You know, so yeah, we thank Brother Gerald and Brother Shaka, man. We thank you, Brother Victor, man. Hey, man, we want you to come back again, man.
Thank you, man.
And dropping those jewels, vocal dialect, man. We will see you guys. We might see you next week. I'm not for sure, but we'll definitely keep everybody informed and everything like that. So peace out, family.